Tesla are currently experiencing one of the most important pivotal moments that they've ever had as a company, and very few people actually know about it. Most of the general public will be people that fall outside of that Tesla, that autonomous driving niche, and they don't really ever see full self-driving becoming a thing. They think that it's unsafe, even though taxi drivers and humans make errors all of the time. They think that it's impossible. How could a car drive itself? And they think that it's just stupid. Then there's the subset of the general public that do believe that full self-driving will one day become the norm, but they don't believe that it will happen anytime soon. If you ask them, they may say that, there'll start being movements towards it in maybe 2050, but definitely no time soon. Well, there's actually been some really important things happen recently, really important developments, and I want to make sure I take the time to explain the true significance of those things, because if you hold Tesla in your portfolio or you're considering it for the future, you really do need to know about these. So I mentioned on one of my previous videos that Elon Musk went live on X to showcase version 12 FSD beta. Now, this version is not currently available to the general public. Tesla don't believe that it's currently up to safety standards to actually mass release that to the general public, but they demonstrated it on this live stream. And if you haven't seen that, I'll just summarize it for you quickly. They basically drove around for about 50 minutes, just short of 50 minutes, and they only had to have one intervention. The rest of the time, this car, this Tesla, was able to drive itself. And it was navigating through streets that weren't pre-planned, and it was navigating through situations that weren't pre-planned. It had a construction site that it had to navigate through, and it did it perfectly. It was quite incredible, honestly. It was quite amazing to see this car with such accuracy being able to act like a human driver. A lot of people will be like, okay, fantastic. Tesla are making progression towards solving FSD. But so are Cruise, so are Waymo, and to be honest, any company really could. We'll see it with Ford soon, we'll see it with GM. This isn't that significant. Yeah, they're doing it first maybe, but other companies will be able to catch up very, very soon. I really don't believe that that could be the case here, because Tesla, as always, are doing it very differently. They are not trying to solve autonomous driving like Waymo and like Cruise are, and they are probably doing it a lot different than any company that are going to follow in their lead anytime soon. So usually, and I'm going to explain this very high level because I am no engineer, you would code into the vehicle software instructions. So for example, you would code in that every time the cameras on the car see a red light, it's to stop. Every time it sees a green light, it's to go. If it sees someone run across the road, it needs to emergency brake. Things like that. You would go through all of the different scenarios that you would expect to see, and you would code them into the software. Instead of code, Tesla are not doing this. They are having FSD be AI end-to-end. In the live stream that a lot of people are now quoting, Elon Musk said something like, neural nets, baby, it's all neural nets. So they are going a completely different way about this. So what does AI end-to-end mean? It means that they are having their vehicles drive themselves with little to no code. I believe there is some code in there, but it's very, very little. Like I said, usually other companies, for example, Waymo and Cruise, they are doing it using C++ and maybe some Python as well. So why is this so important? Well, it's because Tesla are now less reliant on software engineers coding the software needed for full self-driving. We know that humans take days off. We know that they can get tired. They can, be distracted at work, whatever the reason may be. It takes a lot of time, basically, is what I'm saying. And it's not foolproof, because I don't think that humans can come up with every possible code that needs to be in there to enable a car to drive really, really smoothly and really safely. I think that it can get very close, but it will take a very long time. Whereas what Tesla are doing is they basically established themselves a way where now the limiting factor is just the data and processing the data. They just need enough data of different situations whereby they will now be able to train the neural nets, and over time they'll just get better and better. And it's really smart the way that they've actually gone about this, because if you think about a human going about in their day-to-day life or driving a car, what happens is we use our eyes and we see different situations happen. So photons, the light particles, are coming into our eyes. We are processing them in our brain and then we are taking action based on that. I think Elon put this as photons in, controls out. Basically, we see something come in and then we action it by a motor control. So for example, if we are driving and we see a kid run in front of the car, we are seeing that photons in, and then our action would be to quickly, hopefully, emergency slam the brake because we need to stop in order not to hit that kid. And they are doing the same thing with the cars. So the cars are covered in, I don't know how many, like 8 cameras, a lot of cameras, and all of those cameras are picking up what's going on surrounding the car. So photons are coming in, and then the car is making an action, a judgment based on that. So the car is mimicking a human rather than the car having pre-programmed instructions written in code. That's the big difference here. The vehicles are learning what is called general intelligence rather than just working off pre-programmed instructions. And that's really important when you start to think about the scalability of this. So what this means is that cars are out there collecting data. All of the Teslas on the road driving around are continuously collecting data about their surroundings and about what the driver is doing in particular situations. Given by the nature of humans, some drivers will be better than others and some drivers won't be very safe. There will also be some great data out there that's really high quality, showing safe driving, and there will be some data also that is not very high quality and or is just not the optimal decision making that you would expect for a safe driver. So this data gets collected and then it gets fed back into the AI systems, the neural nets. And it's this data that is then used to train the fleet. The point is though, is that some of this data will be great, some of it won't be so good. So it's really important to actually discard the not so great data and to really utilize that good data. And then Tesla will be curating and selecting the very best data to then use to train their fleet. But I do believe there will be an element of humans involved here where they will get the final say as to what data sets are used, and also some labeling done by humans too. So basically, the more data, the smarter the Tesla fleet get at FSD. Remember that. The more data, the smarter and better the cars drive. And then start to question as to what other companies have so much data. But we'll get onto that in just a minute. One thing really cool here that you don't really get if you are having software engineers code, the full self-driving software, is that every time there is an intervention, so every time that full self-driving is being used, but then, an individual has to manually take over because the software made the wrong decision. So let's just say the car's driving itself, you're sitting in the driver's seat, but you're not driving, and it's driving itself and it doesn't see another vehicle come in and it just carries on, and you have to quickly, take over and make an action. There is an intervention. Every time that happens, basically that data is then used to retrain. It gets uploaded to train the networks. So that's how it's getting better and better, and over time there will be less and less human interventions needed until the point where the car is 99.9999999 100 even % of the time driving itself in a safe manner. This sounds fantastic, but it also sounds like this needs a lot of data, like crazy amounts of data. And how do you handle all of that data? Well, actually, this was the limiting factor for solving FSD for Tesla up until a few days ago. So there's 2 different things that are needed here. One, you have to collect a vast amount of data. You have to be able to have the data collected for all different environments, all different situations, literally everything that you could think about a car going out and doing, you need to collect data on. You need to have data showing the real basics of parking, of pulling out onto the road, of stopping at a red light. But then you also need all of them intricate details of how a driver would act in different situations that, aren't as common. And also there needs to be a way to train these systems, these vehicles, on data that isn't mapped. So what I mean is, if a Tesla is entering a parking area that isn't mapped, that the car's not seen before, how is it going to deal with that? It needs to be able to see situations of drivers dealing with environments like that. So there is so much data. That is one thing. You need to collect enough data to actually make the training useful. Once you've done that, and Tesla's been able to do that because they've got a fleet of so many millions of cars out there collecting data, and they have been for quite a while. It's a tick, they've done that. And not a lot of other companies can do that or have done that. No other companies have done it. You need to be able to actually go through that data and utilize that data. And if you don't have enough compute power, which in simple terms basically means the systems don't have enough power to actually, process that data very quickly, it means that there is a limiting factor. It means that yes, you can get through the data and you can train the systems on that large amount of data that you've collected, but it's going to take a very, 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 very long time. So that was Tesla's limiting factor. They did not have enough compute power. But as we found out a few days ago, this is no longer the case. They are no longer as limited by compute power as they were previously. And they are spending ongoing so much money to make sure this is not the limiting factor and to make sure this doesn't stop them from solving FSD soon. And Tesla have a lot of free money. They have the funds to be able to invest large, significant amounts of money into these AI systems and the hardware required. There aren't many other companies that actually have that flexibility. Like I said in previous videos as well, there are a lot of companies out there, and you can just Google this and you can actually see for yourself. But there are a lot of, legacy automotive companies that are making money on their standard vehicles, but they're not actually making very much money, if any. They might even be, in the negative, losing money with their electric vehicles. So are those companies going to be able to realistically invest like Tesla are? Probably not. So not only do they not have the data, they will also not be able to have the intelligence to do it, because a lot of the intelligence is currently at Tesla and have been for many years. And even if they solve those two things, which will take a long time, they then would need to have enough money to actually invest to get enough compute power. So there are many barriers that a lot of the legacy automotive companies and just companies in general won't be able to overcome anytime soon in order to get anywhere near Tesla for full self-driving. So currently Tesla do nearly all of their training on NVIDIA hardware. So up until very recently, they used A100 chips, I believe. Very, very recently, they have, like literally a few days ago, I spoke about it in my last video, and at that point it was very, very new information. They have purchased 10,000 NVIDIA H100 chips. H100 are better than the A100, so they've upgraded there, and 10,000 of them is so many. Like, it's a crazy amount of GPUs or TPUs, whatever, to actually have. So there's that. And then also on top of this, already now they have got their super custom computer Dojo online. So the 10,000 NVIDIA H100 chips plus Dojo will be working together to actually train this massive amount of data, to train on the massive amounts of data, And Tesla having Dojo is quite an advantage, because obviously many companies could just start ordering H100 GPUs, I should say TPUs, shouldn't I, not GPUs, from NVIDIA. Like, they can do that as well if they've got the money. That would also rely on NVIDIA having enough supply to meet that demand from the other companies. So let's just say all those things work out and they have the ability, the funds, there is the supply there to also match how many Tesla have. So company Y now also have 10,000 NVIDIA H100 chips. Perfect. Are they at the same level as Tesla? No. Why? Because they need the data as well, and they need the ability and the intelligence to utilize the systems and the software and the data. Because Elon said putting these 10,000 chips online was super difficult. Just the logistics of it, And also, Tesla are at an advantage because they have Dojo. They have put the time and the money into building their super custom computer. And this means that they are now a little bit less reliant on company Y that just have the NVIDIA chips, on NVIDIA and on someone else's hardware. Because if there is a future supply demand issue that NVIDIA are having, or there's a silicon shortage as is being expected, they at least have Dojo online. So Tesla won't be as put back and as, limited by that. So now there's not such a compute limiting factor. The important thing to understand here is that now Tesla's FSD will be able to get better very fast. maybe even exponentially. And this will then put significant pressure on competition, like really, really, really significant pressure. And like I said in a previous video as well, it will get to the point where consumers are deciding between two EVs that they both like, let's say, and they're around the same price, but one has the ability to drive itself, to have autonomous driving, and one just doesn't, or doesn't very well. It's clear to me which option you would opt for, especially given that autonomous driving will start integrating into society more and more and more as time goes on, and it will become the new normal. Therefore, the companies that cannot offer that have a problem. And I don't believe that no other company will ever get to autonomous driving. I just feel like with the research I've done, Tesla are so far ahead that it will take quite a while for any other company to catch up with them. So this led me to start thinking about what different routes other companies would actually have to start looking at going down. And either I see them turning to Tesla and actually trying to license out Tesla's FSD software. And Elon said that he is willing to do this in the future, so this is definitely a possibility. This would be amazing for Tesla in terms of revenue, because this would be a consistent revenue stream, and it would be software as a service, right? SaaS. So that would be very, very high margin, consistent revenue. That would be great for Tesla. So companies would either have to do that, and here's the important thing actually, they would also need Tesla's hardware, because Elon said you can't just copy the software, you also need the hardware. So there's Tesla building themselves a bit of an ecosystem, or they would have to actually do it themselves. They would have to find a way, figure out a way to solve autonomous driving in their own vehicles. And like I said, this will be really hard just from a data point of view. They would need so much data that would take years upon years, and they would have to have a fleet of millions of vehicles like Tesla has. And realistically, is that going to happen? Probably not, definitely not anytime soon. So the way that I'm viewing this is that Tesla are clearly, we can see now with evidence, close to solving FSD. And when they do, they will be able to start rolling it out. Obviously, they're going to have many hurdles in terms of regulations in different states, but also regulations internationally all over the world, which will definitely be harder, but they will eventually get there. And then autonomous driving will start to integrate into society and completely transform driving as we know it today. But then, after all this is said and done, they can start activating their robo-taxi fleet, which I'm not going to spend a while speaking about, but again, will be absolutely massive if they actually do that and it's done as we kind of expect it to be done. We don't really have much information on this, to be honest, so we can all just make predictions here. And then we have Optimus, and you're probably wondering why I'm even mentioning Tesla's humanoid robot in a video about full self-driving. Well, it's because it's the same neural networks that are being used in Optimus as used in the Tesla vehicles. So it will already have all of the learnings from the Tesla fleet. And by the point that they are really looking to sort of level up Optimus and get it ready, they will be so knowledgeable on processing vast amounts of data and actually training the networks with it. So I'm kind of expecting that by the time Tesla have FSD up and running fully, Optimus won't be too far behind. There may be some issues about actually manufacturing it and how much it will cost and costings and all of that side of it, regulations, whatever. But in terms of the actual training, I don't think that it will be too far behind there. So I'm wondering how this will all affect the stock price. How will FSD change Tesla stock? Well, I'm just viewing it as Tesla are making themselves so incredibly valuable as a company in many different areas, not just in selling vehicles anymore. They haven't been for a long time. And the intrinsic value of the company will be reflected in the stock price eventually. It may take a while to catch up. There's a lot of noise around this one, but I am very happy to continually buy Tesla stock and hold it for a long time. I believe that this company does have the ability, with everything going on with the energy sector, with autonomous driving, with the robo-taxi fleet, with Optimus, with Dojo. It's absolutely mad. With all of these, with the Highland, Project Highland, the compact car, with the Cybertruck, with all of these things, the potential for the market cap for Tesla is pretty wild. And I do wonder, like, what does this do to a company? How big could this company get? It blows my mind. If you have any thoughts on this, actually leave them in the comments below, because yeah, I definitely need help here putting all of these different things that Tesla are doing into some sort of idea on how they will grow in the future, because I don't see how a company can get as big as I'm currently picturing Tesla getting. So I hope this video has really helped in explaining just why Tesla's FSD is so different to others and how important it is that they have now removed the compute power limiting factor. How FSD will now get exponentially better. It's quite a big deal. If you've got any questions or anything to add to this, leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video very shortly.